Hey, like, share, and subscribe. How you doing? So, as y'all know, I try to keep y'all informed on different things and not just you know, opinions and stuff like that. Because when I see a lot of wrestling journalists out there, man, they don't give full opinions. They just say basically empty things like the ratings are down or they need to make new stars. They don't give you a full view of what's going on. Now, you may have seen that the gentleman who supported AEW got fired from Warner Media, and you may think that, well, does that have anything to do with AEW? And the answer is probably not. Okay, so you know, it likely has nothing to do with that. It more than likely has something to do with things that AEW cannot control, which is ad revenues. Now, ad revenues is a bigger deal than anything that's TV ratings or anything that wrestling journalists are really talking about right now. Now, let me explain ad revenues. Ad revenues is essentially, you probably know what it is. Networks, they solicit ad revenues for specific programs. Ad revenues come from companies that want to run commercials during this show. So during the entire COVID-19 situation, ad revenues have been plummeting on TV. The number one reason why is that was the cancellation of a lot of live sports. March Madness gone. A lot of NBA games gone, and a lot of baseball games gone. And now, it was very important that networks got these things back, which is why they're back, which is why basketball is back and baseball is back. But if you noticed, the NBA ratings are actually down. The NBA ratings are actually near WWE ratings at this point. But you don't see anybody flipping out saying that the NBA needs better creative or that the commissioner needs to step down. Even though I'm pretty sure the reason why people don't watch basketball right now is because of the whole Black Lives Matter stuff and all the offensive virtue signaling that the players have done. That's probably one of the reasons why people are not really watching basketball. But ad revenues have been taking a real hit, and this was actually expected because there are people, believe it or not, who actually do their job and they follow these trends over time and they look at prospectus and they look at things and they say, this is not going to look good. And so let's go back to April. We're going to look at the CNBC article from April 2020. Well, March 2020. Well, it's actually from May the 8th, 2020. So a couple of months ago, 3 months ago. Media companies expect a tough quarter for TV advertising with no live sports and spending delayed. So I'm probably not gonna read this whole thing, but I'm going to be able to poke out certain things, and you're going to be able to put it together if you're reasonably smart. Be able to put together why WWE is doing what they're doing and why the guy, I wish I could remember what his name was, why he got fired from NBC, well, from Warner Media. So it's in recent days, companies including ABC and ESPN parent, Disney, Fox Corp, AMC Networks, NBC Universal parent Comcast, Viacom, and Discovery reporting earnings that show how TV is trending as advertisers are pulling spending or postponing campaigns until later in the year. With many consumers stuck at home, TV viewership is up. Traditional TV is expected to add 8.3 million U.S. viewers this year, the first time viewership has seen positive growth since 2011, eMarketer said in a forecast this week. So when people talk about TV ratings, always understand that there are fewer people watching TV than ever before. The trend as far as TV has been cord cutting. People are getting rid of cable. It is not more people. So it should come to the number one TV show on cable is Tucker Carlson. It gets 4 million viewers. Okay, that's what you need to realize. The days of 10 million people watching TV is gone. The days of 5 million people watching wrestling is gone. The days of 6 million people watching wrestling is gone. It's not coming back. Okay, wrestling has always been only a fraction of the people who watch TV. Now, that fraction was larger 20 years ago. It was larger 15 years ago. It was larger 5 years ago. Because ever since streaming has become a thing and because cable is so expensive, people are getting rid of it. And Comcast, and as cable companies die out, it's getting more expensive because monopolies. and people are trying to really squeeze onto the people who do have cable. Like some people's cable bills like are $130 or something like that. You could actually dump that and get Netflix and Hulu and something like that. Get 2 or 3 streaming services and be just fine and not pay that much money. At least not right now, because the cost of streaming services will go up eventually. But right now, it's still cheaper to have 2 or 3 streaming services than it is to have cable. So people are getting rid of cable. So Meltzer will say, I've talked to him about this before. He has proclaimed that cord cutting is not that big of a deal, or that it's factored in. Trust me, it's not. If you're still leaning very, very heavily on Nielsen, which everybody who understands TV knows that Nielsen is completely inaccurate, and it's only but it's simply the best information that TV networks have, but it is not the best information available. It is just only the best information that they have. So they're dealing with a concept called bounded rationality, which means they have to make a decision based off as little information as possible. So they're making TV networks and ad companies, advertisers are making the best decisions that they can with the information that they have. So the impact of missing live sports. This is from the same article. With sports canceled or delayed, associated ad revenue has evaporated in the near term. Some networks are working with advertisers to delay rather than cancel their spend, while networks like ESPN are trying to serve up heavy-hitting content for the fans. In the meantime, ESPN said its The Last Dance docuseries on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls will air through May 17th, which of course we know that it did, and it actually got monster ratings. It did pretty good. But ESPN overall is in the shitter as far as TV ratings are concerned. And Disney has lost a lot of fucking money. Because Disney had lost a lot of money because 34%, I believe some article said 34% of Disney's earnings, meaning all of the money that they make, is off the theme parks, and the theme parks are closed. So Disney loses like $1.4 billion. That's a lot of fucking money. Just off the shutdown. Now you have a lot of the smaller companies that they own, like ESPN, that are actually losing money. So there's a lot of money evaporating in this whole situation. It has nothing to do with TV ratings. It has nothing to do with who the champion is and what wrestling promotion. That's got fuck all to do with anything. The business of televised wrestling is going to be in real danger. I'm talking serious danger. Let's say, but ESPN's linear ad sales are still pacing significantly, quote unquote, below this time last year. Its parent Disney said when reporting earnings earlier this week, a result of lack of live sports inventory and limited advertiser demand, total ESPN ad revenue was down 8% in the second quarter, as higher ratings were more than offset by lower average viewership. NBC Universal said its advertising results at both cable and broadcast networks were impacted at the end of the first quarter because of the postponement of sports. It said it anticipates ad revenue will, quote-unquote, materially weaken even further as sports continue to be postponed. The company will also see delayed ad revenue due to the postponement of the Olympics. So people were expecting this money. A lot of these TV deals, like the WWE, big money WWE deals, are based off of projected earnings, right? So you expect a certain amount of money to come in. Now you have the shutdowns and all this type of stuff. People are quickly trying to rearrange what's going on, which is why WWE had to cut staff and cut pay and furlough people. Even though Meltzer and all these guys gave them shit about it, they didn't have a fucking choice. They were probably going to have to take less money because the networks were going to have less money to spend. And they were going to have less money to spend because the ad campaigns, ad revenues were going to be less. And the ad was going to be less because people are spending less money, because people have lost their jobs. The economy is a chain, right? You're needed to go out and buy things so that the people you buy things from can go out and buy things. You understand? So from that perspective, when you understand that, you should understand that TV networks are like a middleman between the company that we're watching, WWE, AEW, and the ad company. So they have to go straight through. Now, let's continue this story. Fox, which receives more than 40% of its annual ad revenue from sports, said little of that revenue has been impacted so far by shutdowns. The company said its revenue is concentrated in the fall for baseball postseason and college and NFL football seasons. So they're kind of lucky. Fox is okay, at least for right now. But this was back in May. I don't know what has changed. I'm actually trying to find something that's a little bit more recent. Then they go into content delays and different things like that, and of course political spending because it's an election year. So it says Fox said the most immediate impact has been on ad revenue and its local TV stations, where inventory is sold essentially on a spot basis, and many of the advertising partners operate in sectors most displaced by COVID-19. It expects local advertising to be down in the quarter by 50% year over year. CBS said as companies rebound to business, it overwhelmingly serves national advertisers, which should rebound first. So there's going to be a lot of people, losing jobs and different things. Of course, it says moving to streaming as advertisers pull back from traditional TV, which also includes cable. Players like Roku and The Trade Desk say they're seeing benefits as some of that spend shift to connected television. The Trade Desk CEO Jeff Green said in the first 20 days of April, it estimated connected TV spend increased 20% year over year. In the 20 days in April, then accelerated even more in the last 20 days. This is crazy, man. So I'm gonna try to find another article and let's see what we got here. Okay, so it says this is from Variety, August the 7th, 2020. No mercy for white collar executives in pandemic battered media ecosystem. Okay, so this article is about why you started to see a lot of restructuring in Warner and other TV networks. So it says Warner Media is bracing for massive layoffs across the company that are expected as early as next week. The cuts will be part of a broader restructuring and downsizing at Warner Media parent company AT&T. The new streamlined operation structure that Killar unveiled makes sense for the new era when content is truly king and networks are no longer the locus of an organization for TV companies. Delayering is the watchword for the era. Greenblatt, who was chairman of the Warner Media Direct-to-Consumer and Streaming, and Riley, who oversaw programming for HBO Max and Turner's TNT, TBS, and True TV, are both seasoned programming executives who came up the ranks when the network centered management of programs and people were the organizing principle of activity. After more than 20 years of vertical integration, companies like Warner Media, endowed with a massive production asset as well as channels, are following the money. The most lucrative and growing source of profits for entertainment giants these days is content leasing. The moves at Warner Media and a similar restructuring unveiled this week at NBC Universal, which owns USA Network, which of course is where NXT and Raw are shown, as well as recent steps at Viacom CBS, demonstrate that the industry is making structural moves to focus on the creation of content first and foremost. That's why Warner Brothers Chief Ann Sarnoff is now overseeing the Turner Entertainment Networks, and HBO programming chief Casey Bloys is taking the reins of HBO Max original programming, reporting to Sarnoff. The industry was already moving toward the streamlining of content and programming decision-making. The economic pain imposed by the pandemic, a devastation laid bare the past 2 weeks in quarterly earnings reports for AT&T, Comcast, Viacom, and others, has forced CEOs to make deep cuts and radical changes on a much accelerated timetable. So WWE just had a conference call, didn't they? And then people started coming out with these articles that Vince McMahon was spooked. He was scared about the declining ratings. It's like, no, they're spooked because WWE cannot continue to run if you're going to have lowered money from NBC, which would of course be USA Network, and they're going to have a limited, very, very limited amount of money that they can bring in. They can't charge ticket prices, so they're not making money that way. Merchandising is also going to be down because people have lost their jobs. So the only revenue that they can really make is off TV. So they have to go back to being live because live makes more money than taped. And, that's just kind of how it is, right? They have to restructure. All these companies have to restructure. It has nothing to do with TV ratings. It has everything to do with the money just is not there for the things that they want to do. They have to do what they have to, again, they have to follow the money. That's what the article says. And it makes sense. These people are not stupid, man. Like, if I don't understand something, I go look, right? You have Dave Meltzer on his board talking about Fox needs to just jump ship in 2024 and sign AEW. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Fox is worried about even having a fucking network in 2024. They're losing a fuck ton of money right now. They're losing a lot of money right now. You have to look at this thing holistically. That's silly. The hasty late on a Friday departures of Greenblatt and O'Reilly, or Riley, I'm sorry, will surely be joined by other senior executives at Warner Media and NBC Universal in the coming days, are a sign of desperate times. The new leadership at many of Hollywood's institutions are showing no mercy to the top echelon of white-collar workers. At Warner Media, it's understood that Greenblatt and Riley were well regarded, but ultimately seen as ultimately superfluous, given the day-to-day work done by their respective lieutenants. As much as the transition from linear to on-demand business models, the streamlining of duties and the shrinking of hierarchies around programming is going to be a rough adjustment for many who grew up in an industry known for its velvet ropes and velvet coffins. So we're looking at something that's, again, really, really difficult to deal with here. It's really going to be hard to understand what's going on, and unless you're given all of the information. And the bulk of the information that you need to know is not TV ratings. It is ad revenue. Where does the money come from? The money comes from people watching fucking sports. That's what people really wanted to see. Wrestling is considered a sport, which is why it's still on TV. And which is why, even though SmackDown gets 2 million viewers or whatever, it's still highly valued. That is the value of wrestling, is that it is live sports, or it's something akin to live sports at a time when there was no live sports. You should probably pay attention, because if you've been paying attention, ESPN and Fox Sports 1, I believe, have been leasing out WWE content as far as running old SummerSlams, running old WrestleManias, running old events. Why? Because they have nothing else. They don't have anything else. So they gotta try to run whatever they got, right? And that has been probably a decent boon to WWE. But ultimately, in the long term, if somebody calls Vince McMahon on the phone and says, "Hey, our ad revenue is down," they can always just say, "Well, your ratings are down." That's, they could pull that card, but ultimately Vince knows the ad revenues are in the shit, because I'm pretty sure WWE probably also has ad revenue problems, because they also have advertisers. They have direct advertisers. So they probably have some idea that, okay, we're going to have to cut the money that we give you guys. So you're going to have to cut your roster. So that's why all those people got laid off in April and got furloughed. And, sure, I think they just hired some new guy, but they probably just needed that, because they had to have that position filled. But let's look at another article. This is from Media Post. NBC Universal starts layoffs. So Warner Media said to be next. This is from August the 5th. This is 2 days before the last article. Reflecting the pandemic's impacts on all media and entertainment companies, NBC Universal has begun a round of layoffs. The layoffs will affect less than 10% of NBC Universal's workforce of 35,000 people, but will span all of its holdings, including its sports and cable channels, broadcast networks, movie studio, and theme parks, informed sources told the Wall Street Journal. Parent company Comcast reported that NBC Universal's revenue dropped by 25.4% in the second quarter, despite 9% growth in its retransmission distribution revenue. That's a lot. They lost a quarter of their revenue. How many of these articles do I have to read? Okay, so that's pretty much the big story out of that. So when people say so yes, AEW is on the chopping block, as far as, Is it? Do I expect AEW to go away? No, I don't expect AEW to get canceled. I don't expect it to go away. I'm pretty sure they probably had conversations with people before the decision was made. But these things could always change, of course. If you have to justify your existence on these networks, as long as WWE is in the top 5 to 10, maybe NXT is on the chopping block. Maybe they can't afford to keep running NXT, which could possibly be the case that COVID just kills NXT. That's it's possible. But Raw and SmackDown, I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay. Maybe they might get less money, due to there not being a lot of money to go around. But to think that these things are going to be a huge problem is not likely. We can discuss that stuff, but you have to think about things a little bit more. So Kevin Riley was the guy who got laid off, and he was the one who put together the whole AEW deal. Okay, so Kevin Riley. All right, so that was his name. But I don't expect that just because Kevin Riley is gone, that AEW is going to get cut. I just don't expect it because they will be getting bumped for the NBA, and the NBA does better. NBA ratings are down, but the NBA gets better ratings than AEW Dynamite. I mean, I'm gonna talk and continue looking for the NBA ratings right now and see how far the NBA ratings have fallen. Because I could go to Outkick, but I think Outkick is a little bit biased because they're actually kind of thrilled that the NBA is failing. Like they're kind of, because it's a political thing. Outkick, even though I like Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock. I mean, I listen to them sometimes, even though I don't like sports. But they are a little bit biased as to, they kind of expected ESPN and the NBA ratings to be down, so they kind of I told you so about it. So I'm just going to go to a source that's actually biased towards the NBA as much as possible. So I picked up Sports Illustrated. NBA television ratings unremarkable after solid start to return. This is from August the 4th, 2020. It says, following a strong opening night, ratings for broadcasts of NBA games have been, quote-unquote, pretty ordinary, according to Sports Media Watch in the post-titled Unremarkable Weekend for the NBA. According to the report, which cited the Nielsen ratings, the Houston Rockets win over the Milwaukee Bucks averaged 2.4 million viewers and a 1.5 rating, the highest of any non-Los Angeles Lakers or Christmas Day game of the season. In other action, ESPN averaged a 1.1 and 1.8 million for Lakers Raptors on a Saturday night, and a 1.1 and a 1.7 million for Rockets Mavericks on a Friday night, both above the network's previous pre-hiatus average of under 1.5 million. So, and you also have issues with athletes not playing. This was a thing where you can't force people to play. So just like in WWE, where you don't have Brock, you don't have a lot of guys who are not coming in. You don't have Brock, you don't have Roman, you don't have Bobby Roode, who maybe he's not a needle mover, but it's just a number of people missing from the WWE roster because traveling and lockdowns and all that type of stuff. That it's the same in all the other sports too, where you have players who just don't want to play because they're in lockdown, or they don't want to play because they have children who are sick or something like that. They visit their parents regularly or whatever the case may be. They just have people who don't want to play. So it's not just one thing, it's a bunch of things. Like variables confound or combine on this situation. So it is partly, if you want to look at wrestling, it is partly bad creative. A lot of the creative in wrestling is not the best right now, but it's mostly ad revenue situation. And you can say, well, the ratings are down, but of course ratings are down. It's like, duh. People are getting rid of as many bills as they possibly can, and cable bills is one of them. So that affects Raw's ratings right there, and what it affects their viewership. And then it's an election year, so people are looking more, and then you have all these riots and all that shit going on. So people are looking more towards talk TV, the MSNBCs and the Fox News and all that type of stuff, because they want to stay informed about the world around them and all the crazy laws that the government is passing. And then in sports, you have a similar situation where you have you have some top stars that are playing, but you have others, people who want to sit out. Then you have all the political shit that people don't want to be bothered with. And then you have, you know, people just generally being disgusted with the NBA right now. So there's a lot of different things going on that, you know, people can't just look at one thing and say you're in the clear because you've got good ratings. A lot of the things that get good ratings right now were taped weeks ago, taped last year or something like that. You know, TV shows. You know, WWE is trying to run what is this? I don't know what week this would be without fans. This is at least the 30th week, maybe 28th week or something like that, without an audience. And, you know, it's difficult. And AEW has been trying to do the same thing, and it's been difficult for them to do. You know, then you have, of course, the COVID scares where people get or might actually fucking get COVID, and then you have to take those people off TV. You know, it's just been a lot going on. There is a lot to look at. So that's why I'm trying to do videos like this. Not to say that I'm better than anybody else, but to look at things that other people are not looking at. And one of the things that people are not looking at is the expected ad revenue apocalypse that has been taking place over the last year or the last several months, since at least March. Okay, and these are big boys paying with a lot of money. They really want that NFL season to start. Trust me, if the NFL does not happen, it is going to be a problem. It's going to be a major problem. It's going to be a major, like these networks are trying to get whatever they can out of these leagues, and the leagues are the ones that are kind of like, you know, that's why the players tried to play that bullshit like we don't want to play. It's like when then people start saying, well, you're not going to get paid, they start saying, oh, okay. You don't have a choice, bruh. You don't have a choice. You're playing with the house's money now. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you feel like you're properly informed by wrestling journalists? Do they look at everything holistically, or are they full of shit? Like I said, this video, I had to make this video because of that egregious thing that I saw. Matter of fact, let me read that while I'm on the subject, because I want to make sure I quoted Dave Meltzer correctly. Now, this was posted obviously by. Wait a minute, where is it? I didn't save it. Oh shit. I'm not going to go look for it. But it was to the degree that SmackDown got a 0.5 or whatever, and then he said, Dave Meltzer said this on his message board. I'm gonna try to remember it from memory. SmackDown got a 0.5 rating, which was, I believe, number one. I can look that up. I can look up what SmackDown got, because I just had that up. So ratings for August the 7th, 2020. I hate talking about ratings, by the way, because ratings are fucking stupid. Who the fuck cares? So SmackDown got 1.96 million viewers, so almost 2 million viewers on Fox, and it got a 0.5 share for the demographics, and it was number one on TV. But let Dave Meltzer tell it. Fox is better off going to get AEW, because apparently that's just, and they say he's not biased, and they say he just reports facts. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? Like, AEW had to throw everything at the wall to get that 900,000 viewers that they got for the August the 3rd edition of Dynamite. They had to throw a title match on there. You know, unless Moxley and Jericho are going to wrestle every week, or which they pretty much do, you know, you're going to have to throw everything at it in order to keep this shit together. And they still get, you know, and then SmackDown got 1 million more viewers than AEW. It's kind of foolish. You know, it's real foolish. But I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to these people. And then also I saw Wade Keller, you know, he put up a poll saying should Vince McMahon step down because things are not going well as far as ratings is concerned. And then literally 2 days later, SmackDown scored 2 million viewers and got a 0.5 number one show on TV. They're not our best. I don't care what you say. They may have been doing this for a long time, but they are not our best as far as wrestling fans are concerned. They are doom and gloomers. Now, again, there are things to be concerned about, but those things that they are to be concerned about are things that they're not talking about, and that's my opinion. So that's up to y'all. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.